StockMiner.com. I'm Brian Johnson, and we did finally get some movement today. Markets are up ever so slightly. Right towards the end of the day, though, we did see them pull back. This is why I'm just not interested in playing this thing to the long side. If you guys decided to get in, good for you. There was certainly a little bit of movement today. Breaks over 11,500, kind of what we were looking for on the day, and you might have been able to pull, at 40 points. By the end of the day, maybe 30 points out of the whole thing. Good for you. Not really worth it to me. For trading options or if you're buying stuff. I did a little bit of, as I told you I would. I've been doing a little bit of futures trading. And so anyway, in the futures market, if you can get something to move 2, 3, 4, 5 points, it's actually pretty good. Pick up a little bit of dough anyway. But otherwise, you can see why I just get a little cautious about playing these types of moves. There just isn't a lot of room to move here as we just barely get above some of these levels we were watching yesterday, only to kind of return to them by the end of the day. Now we're up, 0.5%, but 56 points up for the day. Still nothing really to write home. I did mention if we're going to see moves, I really believed we'd see them Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. One of those times we finally did see a little bit of movement today. May see a little bit of movement tomorrow as well. And then Thursday, I don't know, maybe a little bit in the morning, and then kind of one of those days where it just kind of dies off the rest of the day. So I would expect to see that coming into the rest of the week. Now, for the day, still up. This is what I've been talking about. Move up, move sideways, got to be bullish. Move up, move sideways, got to be bullish. It's been paying off. We are still up above this 11,450-ish area. Did break that 11,500 area today. Not above the 11,550, nowhere into the 11,600. Once again, if you want to try to play that coming into tomorrow, you might get another opportunity to play something long or even short tomorrow. However, waiting for those breaks, still the most conservative thing you can do. If you're just not interested in those last few points, then don't play it. Sit on your hands, let it do what it's going to do, and wait until next week to start your trading again. NASDAQ, 60 minutes, same type of thing. It was up 0.5%, up 11 points, showing good strength as it continues to grind its way. All the markets grinding their way to the upside, but it's still moving upwards, so the bulls still have control up here. We saw it grind and grind and grind, but these motions, these moves by the bulls continue to make their way to the upside. This is also a point where if you're Elliott waving this thing, to have at it, there's really no way to know where this thing's at or where it's going or when it's going to hit the top. Use this. I would only be using Elliott Wave as a secondary to my primary form of analysis, which is technical analysis. So be very careful with any kind of Elliott Wave counts. You think you're at the top of a 5, and then it doesn't turn, and it's very, very difficult to Elliott Wave any of this stuff at the very top, at the very bottom, or in a big correction. So it's been very, very tricky, I'm sure, for a lot of the even the most renowned Elliotticians out there. I'm sure they're struggling with it right now for good reason. The push is still up. Not up by much. I mean, if you're sitting around allowing this thing to grind upwards, great. The people that are actually making money are those that are A, conservative, B, taking only intraday trades when they're presented, and really C, those that are sitting on their hands. Yes, being in cash is a position. You don't have to be long or short the market to be in a position. I know I'm getting emails. There are a lot of people that are hurting themselves. They're losing money right now. And it's because they're gambling. They're guessing at which way they think it's going to go, or they're trying to call a top, or they're whatever they're trying to do. They're losing money. If at the end of the day you've lost money because you gambled on a trade, then you're better off to stay in cash. Cash is a position. So yes, you are making money if you're staying in cash right now because you're not trying to play every little teeny tiny move in the market, which isn't a whole lot. We didn't see a lot of movement today on any of the indices, really. NASDAQ weekly, you can see here a couple days left, but it's continuing to grind its way up. Certainly wouldn't surprise me to see it end something like this. Little teeny tiny candle doji type thing, maybe towards the top at the end of Thursday. But, it's still working its way up into the Christmas season. SPX 60-minute finished at 1254 now. High of 1255. Talked about pushes over this 1247-ish area. Great. Talked about push today over 1250. Great. If you will like the 3-4 point move, it was at least something to do. As long as you're playing it long, okay, that's fine. I just am not interested. You can see why. Can you see why I'm not interested in playing these last few teeny tiny points? I don't see a real point to it. I would rather wait, get a much more strong move, one direction or the other. I don't care, up or down. Preferably at this point down. I'm not real anxious to go long anything right here, but I would rather wait for a stronger move than sit around waiting for this thing to move 3 points and then taking profit at the end of the day on 3 points. It doesn't necessarily make sense to me. I'm not sure it outweighs the risk of being in to the long side. Do you see my point? Yeah, you can't go broke making a profit. I know people are saying that right now, but the truth of the matter is you can get real bored waiting around for profit too. I don't see any point in it. Sometimes it's just better to sit on your hands, let the market do what it's going to do, and wait for the more, the bigger moves later on. So grind our way upwards above 1250. Some people got long there. That's great, but if you're in at 1251 and out at the end of the day, you made 2-3 points maybe. I'm going to continue to wait and let this thing do what it's going to do, wear itself out. The trend is still actually pretty strong up here, as slow as it is. We could see, like I said, a couple more days of this before it finally starts to top out. It's completely up to you if you want to play it. Above us, 1260. Then I would say 1270-ish maybe even for overhead beyond that point. SPX Weekly doing the same thing. This one actually looks pretty nice at this point. It's not the end of the week. This could finish as a little doji by the time it's all said and done, so I'm not going to pass judgment until we get to Thursday. However, still moving up, still above this overhead resistance, and overhead resistance now acting as support, and doesn't look like at this point that it's going to turn around and come back to test any of these levels, at least this week. So, VIX on a daily. Markets up, VIX up. Here we go with that divergence thing again, but it hasn't meant much. We saw that back in here. Do you see that? The VIX stayed up, the markets went up, and then the VIX just went down. So this doesn't really mean much down here. Once again, no fear at all coming into the markets. VIX up ever so slightly, but holding this pattern kind of on the weekly, waiting for some kind of, I don't know, maybe the bears just decide, okay, it's time. People decide to sell. Maybe they're waiting until after the beginning of the year. Had a guy write me actually today with a very good idea, and that was why take profit before the end of the year when you can wait till after the year and have it count on next year's taxes. Not a bad idea. I'm sure a lot of people will wait till after the first of the year if they can wait that long. There's not a major move before that, but they will wait that long to go ahead and just allow the markets to play themselves out into the end of the year, and then maybe next year start to take some profits. So VIX Weekly, you can see it grinding its way down here, holding very nice to these lower levels, still at this support level down here, but no fear in the market whatsoever. Apple's been pretty good the last couple days. Saw this kind of push from 318-ish all the way up, holding nicely into a high base. I would expect this to push up even further coming into tomorrow. For those of you that were in above 320 or 322 or 324, I would continue to watch. Breaks above 325 are your next entry to the long side if you want to sneak a little bit more money out of Apple before the holiday season hits. And it looks like that's just where it may want to go. So watch this very closely over the next 2 days. Apple Weekly will wait, but you can see it grinding its way upwards ever so slowly. FAS, okay, broke this bull flag, and look what it did. Came up, went sideways, and we got the break. Once we got above this area here, not a bad entry. So above the 2620-ish, 2625-ish level were my entries. This was not a bad trade. The banks did not do poorly today at all. So here was the nice push to the upside on FAS. Right back into overhead resistance. So we got our break this morning. It was not a gap Unfortunately, it was an opportunity to at least get in on this thing and make a little bit of money to the upside. So FAS, FAZ were good trades today. They did give us opportunities because they rolled up and through the entries that I had listed, meaning that FAZ worked its way downwards. Below $10 was my trade to the short side, and it worked out pretty nicely, giving you a good 20-cent or so gain. So you can see where there's not a trade every day. There's not always opportunity every day, but when there is opportunities, I'll give you those levels. And if broken, like we saw today, which was perfect, a nice slow gradual grind down and through, that gives you an excellent opportunity to make some money on these things. So patience does pay off. I know it's tough, but patience does pay off. Okay, I hope you've been following along. This was a good opportunity to make some money. Apple was a good opportunity to make some money. The markets themselves, not necessarily something I want to trade, especially to the long side, but I will trade individual stocks, such as Apple, such as FAS, such as FAZ, such as other things that are out there. That I don't mind, but I am kind of shying away from ETFs and the indices to the long side. Just not interested in looking at that kind of a move. I'd rather take 20 cents on FAZ or whatever on FAS than I would guess and hopefully get 2 or 3 points out of the markets. Okay, be back with you again tomorrow. See you then. Bye.